Hi guys, this is for our 5th class on June 15th. Tonight we're going to finish up Unit 2. Your Unit 2 test is Wednesday, which would be the 17th. Then we're going to begin, after you take your test from 6 to 7:30, we're going to begin Unit 3. We're going to try to finish the entire unit and test before your summer break. So your Unit 3 test is going to be next Wednesday. Okay, so that's my goal. Tonight we're going to talk about decimals. Last class, the first half of Unit 2 is about fractions, and then the second half is about decimals. So let's just jump right in. So the first thing that's on the agenda is reminding you guys how to properly read a number when it has decimals, when it has numbers to the right of the decimal point. So right here it says decimals contain numbers to the right of the decimal point. The place value chart below identifies the first few decimal places. Use this chart to help you with the examples below. So, I know you all remember when you're going from the decimal place to the left, the order, of course, is the ones and then the thousands, millions, billions, so on and so forth. Now to the right of the decimal place, all of those place values end with TH or THS. And so we're going to practice reading, identifying place values, and then we're going to practice reading numbers with decimals. So the first thing it wants us to do is it says what place does the digit 4 occupy in each number. So in letter A, the number 4 is 4 places to the left of the decimal, and so that is in the thousands place. So that 4 in that particular number is worth 4 thousands. Letter B, the 4 is 3 digits to the right of the decimal. So the 1 is in the tenths, the 3 is in the hundredths, and the 4 is in the thousandths place. Now, if you were going to say that number to the right of the decimal, you say it the same way you would say a whole number. For example, you would say 134, but since it's a decimal, the last thing out of your mouth has to be the place value that the last digit is sitting in. For example, you would say letter B, 256 and 134 thousandths. So even at my chart, the decimal, I wrote the word and. Technically, when you say a number, we say numbers, kind of lazily, and we'll stick the word and in there. Like if we were saying the year 2004, technically that's not right. You're supposed to only say the word and when you're showing where the decimal is located. So on letter B, you would say that number correctly, 256 and 134 thousandths. Letter C, you would say that number 4 hundredths. And in letter D, the 4 is in the tenths place. So you would say that number 1 and 4,671 ten thousandths. Okay, I was getting a little ahead of myself because the next part of the exercise wants us to say the whole number correctly. So letter A, first of all, the 7 is in the hundredths place. So the last thing out of my mouth has to be the word hundredths. So now I'm going to say the whole number for letter A. It's 324,231 and 17 hundredths. Letter B, you say that number, 256 and 134 thousandths. Letter C, I've already said that you would say that number, 4 hundredths. And then letter D is 1 and 4,671 ten thousandths. Okay, so the more you practice, the easier that gets. It's just memorization for that particular skill. So now it wants us to write how you say these numbers with words. So letter A, and I am the worst writer with this pen and this slate, but I'm going to do the best I can. All right, so letter A, we have 300, 24 thousands 231. Now we say the word and to show that we have a decimal. Oh, this thing's gonna get on my nerves again. And 17. Uh-oh. Whoops. 17. Oh my goodness. Stop it. 17 hundredths. Ooh-wee, isn't that beautiful? Absolutely. All right, so letter B, we're going to say that number 256 and 100. Whoops, 34 thousandths. There we go. Ooh, that's ugly. All right, the letter C, that is just simply 4 hundredths. And then finally, letter D, we have 1 and 4,000. 4,671. Okay, hopefully you guys can read that, but that's it. That's how you write those numbers. So I think we have a couple of practice problems. Oh no, not yet. So number 3, it says round the numbers, round each of the following numbers to the indicated place value. So it wants us to round this number to the nearest tenths place. Well, which number is in the tenths place? The 3 is in the tenths place. So when you're rounding, what you do is you take the number that they ask you to round to, and you have to look at the digit to the right of it. Well, since to the right of it is the number 4. Okay, so we have the 3 is in the tenths place. The 3 is in the tenths place. And so we're going to look at the number to the right of it. The number to the right of the tenths place is a 4. You guys, seriously, I'm going to start throwing something. Okay, so the rule is if you have a digit that is from 0 to 4, this number won't change. If you have a number to the right of whatever you're rounding, if the number to the right is 5 through 9, then you round this digit up. So it either is going to stay a 3 or turn into a 4. Those are my only 2 choices. Well, since this number is 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, that means my 3 does not change. So rounded to the nearest tenths, my answer is 42 3/10. Now, whatever place it says to round to, every digit after that number gets dropped. Okay? All right, let's look at letter B. It says round this number to the nearest hundredths place. Well, what number is in the hundredths place? This 9 right there. That 9 is in the hundredths place. So what determines what to do with our 9? Well, it's the number to the right of it. So since this is a 9, we are going to round our number 9 up. So what's the only thing a 9 can turn into? Well, the only thing a 9 can turn into is a 10, okay? So this 9 right here is going to turn into a 10. Well, when that turns into a 10, you can't write a 10. You have to write a 0 and carry the 1. So what's 3 plus 1? Well, it's 4, right? And then you have to include the numbers in front of the one that, all the numbers in front of it, you have to write those. So rounded to the hundredths place, our number is 42 and 40th hundredths, or 4/10 is the same thing as 40 hundredths. Anyway, so that's what you do. So when it's a 9 and it has to turn into a 10, you have to carry the 1. Let's look at letter C. It says round this number to the nearest thousandths. So first of all, you have to figure out which number's in the thousandths place. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So the 5 is in the hundredths place, the thousandths place. So what tells me, which digit tells me what to do with my 5? Well, it's the digit to the right of the 5. Well, the digit to the right of the 5 is a 6. And since that number, that digit is above, is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, that means my 5 turns up to a 6. So rounded to the nearest thousandths, this number would be 42 and 346 thousandths. 42 and 346 thousandths. Now that 5 turned into a 6, but then remember I drop all numbers after whatever place I'm rounding to. So I was rounding to the tenths place here, I dropped the rest of them. I was rounding to the hundredths place, I dropped the rest of them. Letter D, I'm going to round this number to the nearest tenths place. Well, the 5 is in the tenths place, so what do I look at? I look at the number to the right, which is a 6. Since that 6 is a 5 or higher, this 5 turns into the next number up, which is a 6. So rounded to the nearest tenths, my answer is 53 and 6/10. I drop everything else. 53 and 6/10. Now, why did that 5 turn into a 6? Because the number to its right was a 5 or higher. Letter E, round this number to the nearest hundredths. Well, the 6 is in the hundredths place. So what do I look at to see what to do with my 6? I look at the 1, which is to the right of it. This number is between 0 and 4. So my 6 does not change. So rounded to the nearest hundredths place, my answer is 53 and 56 hundredths. And then I drop everything else. Finally, the last one, round this number to the nearest ones place. Ones is right there. So what do I look at? Ones place, what do I look at? I look at the number to the right. Well, this number is a 9, and it makes me turn my 7 into an 8 as it go up to an 8. So rounded to the nearest ones place, my answer is 58. So hopefully everybody got that. All right, now you guys are going to try. You're going to just do these 3 problems on your own. You're going to write the number using words. You're going to round to the nearest hundredths. And then you're going to answer the question, what place does the 6 occupy in the number? Try that, pause me, and then come back and I'll go over the answer with you. 4A, write the number using words. So hopefully you guys wrote the number is 12 and 600, 19 thousandths, because that 9 is in the thousandths place. 4B, round this number to the nearest hundredths. Well, this 9 right here is in the hundredths place. So the number to its right is a 5 or higher, which means this 9 turns into a 10. Well, I can't write a 2-digit number, so I have to write a 0, and then I carry my 1. So when I write it, I'm going to have 12.70. Well, that 0 has no value because it's just 7/10 or 70 hundredths. It's the same thing. So your answer could be 12.7 or 12.70, same thing. But you drop the last non-zero number. And then finally, 4C, what place does the digit 6 occupy in this number? What is the 6 in? It's in the tenths place. All right, hopefully you got all those correct. Now, it says decimals are really fractions in disguise, as you see in the examples. So example 5, it says change each of the following to a simplified fraction or mixed number. So remember how I said that you say a number, whatever place the last digit's in. Well, when you say a number correctly, it sounds like the fraction will look. For example, this 6 is in the tenths place. So the way I say this number is 6/10. Well, that's exactly what I write as a fraction. I write 6/10. 6/10. These are equivalent. However, this fraction can be simplified because these are both even numbers, which means I can divide them both by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So 3/5 is the simplified fraction that is equivalent to 0.6 or 6/10. Letter B, this way I say this number correctly is how it looks as a fraction. 1 and 15/100. So the whole number 1 and 15/100. That's exactly what I said, the way it looks. 1 and 15/100. Well, now I know that 15 and 100 are both divisible by 5. So I'm going to leave my whole number alone. I'm going to divide 15 by 5 and get 3. 100 divided by 5 is 20. So 1 and 3/20 is equivalent to 1.15 or 1 and 15/100. Now I could turn it to a mixed number, of course. I could multiply 12 and 1 and then add 3. I meant not 12, 20 and 1. 20 times 1 is 20 plus 3 is 23/20. And finally, letter C. How do I say this number? Well, the 4 is in the tenths, hundred thousandths, 10,000ths place. So I would say this number, 564 10,000ths. And that's what it looks like, 564 10,000ths. 564 10,000ths, tenths, hundred thousandths, 10,000ths. Now, I think both of those numbers are divisible by 4. I'm pretty sure they are. 564 divided by 4 is 141. So now I'm simplifying it. Over 10,000 divided by 4 is 2,500. And I know that 3 will go into 141 because the digits add up to 6, but 3 won't go into 2,500. So I believe that is the right answer. Let me just double check on my little calculator here. It didn't tell me. I think that's right. So if somebody can simplify it farther than that, I'm not going to take the time to do it now, but I'm pretty sure that's simplified. So maybe one of you can prove me wrong. We'll see. All right, so here's a few more. So let's look at letter D. So letter D, I pronounce this number 825 thousandths, and that's exactly what my fraction looks like, 825 thousandths. All right, and I think I can divide both of these by 40. Let's see. I might be wrong. 825 divided by 40 is, nope, I'm wrong. Let's try 4. Let's try just 4, not 40. Or actually, you know what? Let's try 25. I know 25 will go into both of these numbers. We're going to divide on both by 25. So 825 divided by 25 is 33. Where's my pen? All right, 33, and 1,000 divided by 25. Now there's my 40 right there. All right, so 33/40 is equivalent to 825 thousandths. All right, letter E, 52 what? How do you say this number? 5,200. So we're going to write 52 over 100. Those are both divisible by 4. So 52 divided by 4 is 13. And 100 divided by 4 is 25. So 13/25 is equal to 52 hundredths. Now let's say I wasn't sure that these were equivalent. How could I see if 13/25 is equal to 52 hundredths? Well, a fraction is the same thing as a decimal problem. So in my calculator, I'm going to divide the first number by the second number. So 13 divided by 25 in my calculator, it tells me the answer is 0.52, which proves to me that those two numbers are equivalent. All right, finally, letter F. This is 2 and, so that means the whole number 2. I'm just going to keep my whole number 2. 2 and 4 what? 4 100ths. It's not 4 tenths, that would be 2.4. This is 4 hundredths. So be careful on that one. And now I'm going to leave my 2 alone, but I can divide 4 and 100 by 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 100 divided by 4 is 25. So that's my answer as a mixed number. I could turn it into a improper fraction by multiplying 25 times 2, which is 50. So 51/25. So all of these numbers right here, all 4 of these numbers are equivalent. They all have the exact same value. All right, now it says we're going to convert fractions to decimals. So we're going to do the opposite. We're going to take a fraction, divide the top number by the bottom number, and write it as a decimal. And sometimes when you have a non-terminating decimal, you're going to have to round. So in this problem, it tells us to round to the nearest hundredths when appropriate. Okay, so in your calculator, you're going to divide 3 by 4. 3 divided by 4, and the answer is 0.75. Now the 5 is in the hundredths, so it already is naturally round to the hundred. I mean, it doesn't need to be rounded because the 5 in the hundredths place is the last decimal, so we're done. So 0.75 or 75 hundredths is equal to 3/4. Letter B, I know this is greater than 1 because I have an improper fraction. So in my calculator, I'm dividing 52 by 10, and I got 5.2. So 5 and 2 tenths. 5 and 2 tenths is equal to 52 100ths. Letter C, I get 1 divided by 3, and I get a non-terminating decimal. So I'd say it's about 0.3, and the hundredths place is 3, and that means the next place would be a 3. Well, if I'm rounding to the hundredths place, I need to look at the number in the thousandths place. Since the number in the thousandths place is less than 5, that means that this 3 stays the same, or it doesn't get bigger. So my answer simplified to the nearest hundredths, or rounded to the nearest hundredths, is 33 hundredths. 33 hundredths. All right, finally, letter D, 10 and 3/7. So 10 is a whole number, it's going to stay a whole number, 10 point something. All we got to do is divide 3 by 7. And in my calculator, I have 0.4285 ... Rounding to the nearest hundredths, the 2 is in the hundredths place. So that 8 tells me my 2 rounds up. And so it's equivalent to about, that's why you got those little symbols, it's about 10 and 43 hundredths, 10.43. Now it says you try, so I want you guys to pause me and follow the directions, and then come back and let's check our answers. All right, 6A, we're going to write this as a fraction. So we're going to keep the 5 a whole number, 5 and 375 thousandths, 375 thousandths. Well, once again, we can divide those two numbers by 25. So 375 divided by 25 is 15. And 1,000 divided by 25 is 25. Now 15 and 25 are divisible by 5 again. So 15 divided by 5 is 3. And 25 divided by 5 is 5. So 5 and 375 thousandths is equivalent to 5 and 3/5. 5 and 3/5. Letter B, how do I say this number? Tenths, hundred, thousandths, the 5 is in the thousandths. So you say this number 25 thousandths. So that's what it looks like, 25 thousandths. And then we're going to divide both of those numbers by 25. 25 divided by 25 is 1. 1,000 divided by 25 is 25. Because we did that right there, didn't we? 1,000 divided by 25 is 25. Okay. All right, number 8, we're going to simply divide the top by the bottom. So we're going to divide 531 by 25, and we get 21. In my calculator, I get 21.24, and we didn't have to round to the thousandths place because it terminated in the hundredths place. Letter B, 41 divided by 9 is, my calculator says 4.55555. So I find the thousandths place, tenths, hundred, thousandths. I look to the number to its right, which is a 5. A 5 will round this number up to a 6. So rounded, my answer is 4.556, and then I drop all other digits. So I'd say 41/9 is about 4.556. Finally, letter C, I see a whole number, so I'm going to keep it a whole number. And then I'm going to divide 6 by 100. And I get 545454545454, so on and so forth. So my tenths, hundred, thousandths, this 5 is in the thousandths place. And then the 4 to its right tells me I do not change that 5 to a 6. It stays a 5. So it's about 3.545, rounded to the nearest thousandths. So hopefully you guys got all this right. All right, so now it tells us to use our calculators. It says operations with decimals. We're going to practice with our calculator. So it says to use your calculator to compute each of the following, round as indicated. So of course that dot right there, it kind of looks, it's a little confusing. It almost looks like a decimal, but it is a multiplication symbol. So all we're going to do, since these only have one operation for the first 3, we're not worried about the order of operation. There's only 2 numbers in each of those. And so we're just going to plug them straight in our calculator the way it shows us. So letter A, 4.32 times 3.17. Make sure you put it in right. And my calculator tells me the answer is 13.6944. But it tells me to round to the nearest tenths. Well, the 6 is in the tenths place. The number to its right is 5 or higher. So that number tells me I'm going to bump my 6 up to a 7. So it's about 13.7. Letter B, divide that number by 23.56. So 523.14 divided by 23.56. And my calculator tells me the answer is 22.2045, so on and so forth. I'm rounding to the nearest thousandths. So tenths, hundred, thousandths, the 4 is in the thousandths place. I'll look at my 5 to tell me what to do with my 4. This number is a 5 or higher, so that tells me to bump my 4 up. So it's about 22.205. So that's the correct answer, rounded to the nearest thousandths. Letter C, if you don't have an exponent or a to the second power button on your calculator, all that means is 0.1 times itself. So in my calculator, I'm going to write 0.1 times 0.1, and my final answer is 0.01. It says write your result first in decimal form, which is that, then convert it to a simplified fraction. Well, how do you say this number? You say this number 1/100ths. 1/100ths. And that's exactly what the fraction looks like. Now, letter D, if you have a calculator like mine, if you can see mine, I can put the whole problem in before hitting equals. However, I have another simple calculator. Really, this is the kind of calculator you're supposed to use for this course. It's just a simple operations calculator. Now, this calculator, I have to put in the order of operation order. This calculator automatically will compute use an order of operation. I plug it in all at the same time, and in that math problem, it would multiply first, then add, and then subtract in order from left to right. This calculator won't do that. If I type in this calculator 3.721 plus 4.35, it will automatically add those together when I hit times 21.72, and my answer will be wrong. So hopefully you guys understand what I'm talking about. A scientific calculator automatically does that order of operation for you. This calculator will not. So on this simple calculator, I have to force order of operation myself. I have to multiply before I'm allowed to add or subtract. So in my calculator, my little simple one, I'm going to multiply 4.35 times 21.72, and that is 94.482. So now my math problem is 3.721 plus 94.482 minus 0.03. Now I can go in order from left to right, and this calculator will be correct. 3.721 plus 94.482 minus 0.03. So my answer is 0.98.174, or 73, I should say. And then it says rounded to the nearest whole number. So my answer is 98. Now, just to show you, if I use this calculator, I put in that whole thing exactly the way it's written, plus 4.53 times 21.72 minus 0.03. It goes straight to the right answer. It goes straight to the right answer. It performs order of operation on its own. I didn't have to do anything fancy in it. And so what kind of calculator you use, it makes a difference. You have to know if it's a scientific calculator, if it has parentheses in it. See my parentheses? It's gonna always perform order of operation without me forcing it to. All right, so basically that's what this little hint right here says. What kind of calculator do you have? The order you solve multi-step problems depend on it, is what it should say. The order you solve multi-step problems depend on it. So I'm going to use my scientific calculator. I'm going to put it all in. It'll give me one answer. If you don't have this kind, that's fine. You don't have to have it for this class. In fact, you're supposed to be using this simple calculator. Make sure you follow order of operations. You do exponents first. Then after you do exponents on number 10, you would do this division problem. And the last thing you would do is subtract this quantity minus this quantity. Okay? So you guys try these 3 problems, come back, and I will tell you what the answers are. Oops. All right, so this one was 38.3 hundredths. It would be 377, but since that's 7, the number to the right is a 7, I would write it to, I would change my 7 to an 8. Okay, hopefully you guys got that right. All right, letter A. 5.4 plus 2.7, parentheses, 6.25 minus 4.7. And I get 9.585. Rounded to the nearest hundreds is 9.59. And finally, letter B, 6.4 plus 4.02 divided by 0.2 minus 10.8. I got 15.7. 15.7. All right, let me know if you got all those right. Good for you. All right, so as we move on to the next section, we're going to be talking about rounding money, the way we write money in real life. So when we write money in real life, we only go to the second decimal place, which is the cents, right? So for example, the way we write money, I would say $8.04. I wouldn't have 8.04221. If you go to Kohl's, you're looking at a tag, you'll never have a price past the second decimal position, which is the hundredths place. But when we're talking about money, it's the cents, it's the penny place. So we're very familiar with reading numbers for money, and so you gotta, when you say a particular price, you should automatically know what that looks like in your head. This particular section should be really easy. We just need to practice mostly rounding to the nearest cent. So example 11, $12.75. $12.75. Letter B, 32 cents. So that would be no dollars, 0.32, 32 cents. Now this is the one that kind of will trick people sometimes, 5 cents. And I don't know how many times I've seen people say that's 5 cents. Is that in the pennies place? No, that's in the dimes place. So that's not 5 cents, that's 50 cents. So 5 cents would be no money in the tenths place, but this is 5 cents. This is not 5 cents. So $100, and that's where your decimal goes, right? 7 cents. So $100, and not 70 cents, but 7 cents. $100.07. So it says round each of the following monetary values as indicated. So this to the nearest dime. Which number's in the dimes place? This one. So to the nearest dime, is that going to be closer to 50 cents or 60 cents? Well, that 6 makes me round that 5 up to a 6. So to the nearest dime would be 60 cents. Should be a 0. To the nearest dollar, which number's in the dollar place? This. So that number makes me round up. So to the nearest dollar, this is about $128. That's a 5 through 9, you round up. To the nearest $10, the nearest $10, the 2 is in the $10 place. So the 7 makes me round the 2 up to a 3. So that's about $130 rounded to the nearest $10. And then finally to the nearest $100, is this closer to $100 or $200? Well, that's a small number, a 2, so this is closer to $100. So that's money rounded. All right, you guys try. You're going to do that. You're going to do those two problems, and then you're going to round to the nearest penny or the nearest cent. So pause. Come back to me, we'll go over the answer, and then I am going to take a short break, and then I am going to have a video following this one. So 13A, write as a decimal $20.05. So $20.05. 13B, round $311.58 to the nearest dollar. Well, would that be $311 or $312? Well, the 5 makes me turn my 1 into a 2. So that's about $312. The nearest penny, the hundredths place, is always the penny. So you look at the number to the right of it. Since this 6 is a 5 or higher, I round my 0 up to a 1. So to the nearest penny, this is about $35.41. The nearest penny, the 5 is in the penny place, so my 6 makes me round my 5 up. So this is about $8.06. And to the nearest penny, the 9 is in the pennies place. So this 9 makes me round this up to a 10. So I'm going to round it to a 10, and I have to carry my 1. Well, 1 plus 9 is 10. I have to carry my 1. 9 plus 1 is 10. I have to carry my 1, and I'm finally allowed to write a 10. And so rounded to the nearest penny, even though it sounds like it may not be, rounded to the nearest penny, this is $100 even. Rounded to the nearest penny, because anytime you have a 9 that rounds it to a 10, you have to keep doing that until you can finally, it won't be a 10 anymore. It could be a single number. All right, guys, I am going to take a break, and you guys will have a second video.